Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kate Hamilton Health Podcast. And have I got a treat for you today? You are about to listen to the most incredible story of overcoming adversity, of survival, and I would say fearlessness. In this episode, I interview Neal Bendesky, and he is an absolutely fascinating character. He is a transformation expert, author, and inspirational storyteller whose incredible journey is proof that it's never too late to change your life. A former sports marketing executive, Neal once lived in the fast lane. So, that busy lifestyle, until a series of life-altering events forced him to make his health a priority. He reached a tipping point, as he called it, and started to change his lifestyle. He lost 199 pounds. After he had lost most of that weight, he suffered a sudden cardiac arrest. He survived this sudden cardiac death from a hereditary heart condition and has recently beat cancer. Despite all of this adversity that he's come through, Neal has completely reimagined his lifestyle. His commitment to showing up for himself has led to him completing 37 races and counting since his heart attack, including 17 half marathons. He's an ambassador for the Rock and Roll Running Series. His story has been featured in People magazine, Men's Health, Fitbit, and Las Vegas Review Journal. He also has a book. Neal's book, Never Too Late, How a Lifestyle Reimagination Can Save Your Life, is a step-by-step guide to overcoming obstacles, prioritizing health, and creating sustainable transformation. Through his 199 Guy lifestyle platform, Neal is dedicated to inspiring others to take control of their own journeys, proving that no matter where you're starting from, real change is possible. In this podcast, he tells his story. He also goes through his 7 principles that saved his life and share them with you. You really are in for a treat. I hope you enjoy the episode as much as I did. Hi, Neal. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's my first time doing something live in Ireland, so I am super excited to be with you, Kate.
Yes, I am so excited for this. So it's morning time where you are in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken.
Arizona, USA. And thanks to you, I got to visit one of my favorite trainers. She's in my book, Never Too Late, Michelle. She just returned from hip surgery. So I saw, wow, I'm going to do your podcast. It's 10:30 our time here, a little bit past. And she had an 8:45 class. I usually take a 10 o'clock class. I wanted to be on your thing, right? So I needed to, go see her. And it was great that I did. And here we are.
Yeah. And you have your workout done. You're set up for the day. You're winning already today.
I saw something that you did recently, Kate, that I thought was really cool. So I'll paraphrase it. I call it the daily mores, right? Keep showing up, moving more. That's what we just did. Sleeping more, something I need to do better at. Okay. Drinking more water. There you go. Bingo bongo. Eating more vegetables. That is obviously big. And what we say at Orange Theory, after you do all those things, more life.
Yes. I really believe that it is, if we stopped focusing on what we shouldn't have or what we shouldn't do or what we need to take away, and we did focus on what we need to put in to our diets, into our exercise routines, into our lives, it is going to create more life, more happiness, more everything.
Yeah, 100%. So here I was, a sports executive working for American football, at one point at the University of Miami. We won national championships, which is pretty cool. When you go on a plane, oh, did you play? Or no, I was an administrator, but I was a part of a great team, right? And, I coach baseball, but more importantly, I put so much into my job that, here I was working in sports and I wasn't looking the part. I was over 400 pounds. I was actually at one point 450 pounds. So I tell people I was a prisoner of my job. I medicated my body with the drug of choice, food, right? And, a lot of times when you work in a sports venue, the fan food, I say this, fan food is not fuel food. And in other words, to fuel your body. So the hamburgers, the hot dogs, the pizza, those aren't positive nutrients for your body. So it sort of escalated my scenario. Like, you have 3 kids, we have 2 boys. My wife and I have been together over 40 years. We met at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So I tell people she was my gold medal, right? And, jobs get us in different places around the United States. We were in South Florida, Florida for over 23 years, and we've been here in Arizona since 2015. So really what it comes down to is one day I hit that pivot point. So how did you do it? Because you lost 50 pounds and, developed a whole new life. You were a teacher, right? I'm actually an adjunct professor at Boston College, and that's pretty cool. But more importantly, what was your pivot point, with your life?
My pivot point came after I had my third baby, and I really didn't look after myself in the run up to that pregnancy and through that pregnancy. And I ended up with an injury where in my pelvis where I had to, do a lot of physio. I gained a lot of weight through that pregnancy, and I just was at the heaviest I had ever been. I just remember feeling so just betrayed by my body a little bit and really weak. And I was like, this is my day one. And it has been a long journey. That was we're talking the end of 2017. So it's been a long journey of lots of ups and downs, lots of imperfections, but just this conscious effort being like, I will live a healthy lifestyle in a balanced way, and I will get to where I want to go, and I will be the person that I want to be.
For me, I had two pivot points. So walking you through my professional world, I was in South Florida. Like I said, my wife and I, Laura, had been together a long time, and we were the victims of identity theft. So that really brought,
Wow.
a big black cloud. We had two boys, and what are we going to do, right? So I had a friend of mine who's the athletic director at Boston College now, at the time, the University of Miami. We went out and had a burger, and we talked about, in order to get back in the game, you had to get in the game. And I said, okay. So I started applying for jobs on the college rank again, because this had just destroyed us, So we ended up taking a job at the University of South Dakota. Prior to that scenario, I was basically, as low as you could be. I'm sure there's a lot of your audience out there that can relate. Something emotional happens, in this case, identity theft. Somebody has a death in the family. Somebody's not feeling as good about themselves. Those were all part of my program. So I moved to South Dakota, and you got to understand, South Florida has beautiful beaches. And
I was in Miami there last week. I'm only
I
just
was
back.
there too. I was just there. I did one of my health events. So the Lexus corporate run, but more importantly, like we're talking about, it's beautiful. South Dakota, There's days it's 50 below. So people would say, why did you make that move? I said, well, I'm part of the witness protection program. I needed to make that move. And in all due respect, those were really strong people. So one of the things that I talk about in this formula that is in my book, Never Too Late, is you start with motivation. You get motivated, right? Like you got motivated after your pregnancy. So in my case, you can't do it by yourself. So you have a community of people behind you. And that's really, really important. And they show you the love and the support. In this case, I had Orange Theory Fitness. But long before I even got there, I was in South Dakota surrounded by some really good, strong, foundational people. And then I moved to St. Louis and took a job at the university, at St. Louis University. And that was pivot point number one. Pivot point number one was we have a son who now is in the doctorate program at New York University. He's a scientist. And so he takes after my wife, right? So he was working at a pizza place. Now, I don't know about your listeners, but I love pizza. You like pizza? Okay.
I love pizza.
I'm sure your kids love pizza, right? Right?
Yeah.
So our son is working at a pizza place. I was a binge eater. So I would eat 2 slices and I would sneak a third. And Justin comes out after my eating my 2 slices and he brings out a salad. And he says, Dad, I think it's time for a salad. And that resonated, because a lot of us out there, another thing I talk about is I heard, but I didn't listen. I heard, but I didn't listen. So the truth is that here I am, one pivot point, and then I get this gig, an indoor American football league here in Arizona, where I've been, since 2015. I don't work for that group anymore, but one of my jobs was to get companies involved. And in this case, I got Orange Theory Fitness involved, and it led to me joining it. And initially I failed. The first 5 weeks, I failed. So I had a 5X red top. This is an extra large. And I'm wearing it, and there's a little 3-year-old, Max. He's my guardian angel, as I call him. And he ends up coming to, after, he's waiting for his mom. He looks at me and he says, "Are you Santa Claus?" My initial reaction wasn't PG-13. So I learned the value of nutrition. So many of us think, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym, especially those in January, the New Year's resolution, right? I mean, that's 20% of the equation. So you get motivated. And then the next thing that comes into play is you're accountable. So in this particular case, I needed to be more accountable nutritionally. Max, made that comment. I went to the trainer at Orange Theory. He gave me some advice. I went on this miracle run. Listen, I shouldn't be here. I'll give you that sequence in a minute, but I lost 199 pounds in like 16 months. It's crazy.
Let me stop you there for a second. 166 pounds.
99.
199 pounds, sorry, in 14 months.
16.
Sorry, okay. 199 pounds in 16 months. That is absolutely incredible. Can I ask, what changes did you make?
I just started, I had, an app that we all can get, MyFitnessPal. I started looking at my nutrients and my macros. There's a lot of miracle things that happen. I always tell people, and I'll get into that in a minute, but answering your question, there is a world headquarters for a supplement called Isogenics. Today, I don't use that Isogenics, but then I did. And at the end of the day, that supplement helped me, go through the process. I continue to do my exercise program. I actually got really motivated to do physical therapy, to do stretching, to do the cardio-based workout that Orange Theory is. I don't know if any of your listeners have been there, but the bigger picture is it has a floor exercises, it has a water rower, and it has a treadmill, and it has a different theme every day. So today happened to be an endurance day, with things that were related that the trainer will tell you to do. And the same thing, a power day or a strength day or an ESP, which is all three combined. So taking that scenario, I just showed up and did the work and really focused on different nutritional plans. I'll be honest to you, there was like 7 different programs based on as things were changing in my body that I did. I didn't do surgery. I didn't do any of the crazy drugs that, that are out there. I just had a miracle happen. And because I felt like, if I didn't, I was going to die. I was 1 foot in the grave. So as it worked out, that happened. On August 2nd, 2016, after I'd lost about 187 pounds at that point, and I'd lost 35 pounds in St. Louis, also by walking every day around a track at my son, Logan, our other son, Logan's track. But at the end of the day, all this is coming together, and I do this TV interview. 30 minutes, Kate, after the TV crew left, I fell face forward. I had the Widowmaker, sudden cardiac death. They went and got the defibrillator. It happened to be an Orange Theory. They got the defibrillator. They turned me over. I wasn't breathing. All of a sudden, I started breathing on my own. So less than 10% of the people do that. Less than 50% of the people come out of that. I did. I got taken to a hospital. Next day, I had 2 stents put in. And 9 days later, I was back in the gym. So that was a miracle for me to do that. A, lose 199 pounds. Second, to basically survive sudden cardiac death. And more recently, Kate, I survived cancer. So I've kind of say that how many people out there in the audience have seen a miracle? Well, hello, because everyone in this audience is a miracle waiting to be unfolded. You just have to understand the process that it is.
What I find so fascinating about you is just listening to like your energy. Like we're thousands and thousands and thousands of miles apart, and we're talking through the internet here, and I can feel your energy. And it's absolutely incredible. It's extremely positive. It's extremely energetic. And I would firmly believe that this energy is a huge part of why you've overcome everything that you've overcome.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not sure how you want to take this for your show, because I want to do what is best for your audience. But, obviously there's a recap of my life. I've given you some of that. But I also did the 7 principles that saved my life and how it can save other people. So what you just said is what you did, what I did. and thank you for the positive comment. I embraced a lifestyle reimagination. And what I mean by that is your habits are either building you up or burying you. In some cases, they're tearing you down. You need to choose wisely. I had to stop waiting for tomorrow and start living differently today. God doesn't call us to a life of mediocrity. He calls us for transformation. Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I think I did that.
Yeah, you definitely did. I suppose so. We're talking about this cardiac arrest that you have is after you've lost 187 of the 199 pounds. So you've done the work, you've made that lifestyle change. In that moment, not in that exact moment, but in the moments, like in the days, weeks after that, I hear you say you were back in the gym fairly quickly. Did you have a moment where it was like, what was the point?
No, I was more mad at myself. Nobody's ever asked me that question. So thank you for asking that, because it's something that's in my heart and my head. I remember there was a sign, like I had some discomfort right below my chest plate, and I should have known something was wrong. All right. So a lot of us, we think we're Superman. When you've lost that much weight, Kate, and you've made those kind of miracle transformations, you kind of put yourself in a position that you think you're Superman. And when those things happened, I did not react to it. So, just like with what happened with me with my cancer, I reacted to it. So, that's what I encourage people to do, is use the medical field, the people around you to support you, but you got to be the advocate of your own program. And answering your question, I would say that I didn't have a doubt. I was more grateful, because what my cardiologist, Dr. Deep, told me was, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm thankful for that. I mean, the next thing that is part of the principles is move your body every day. Okay. You talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
as a mom, what you have, a 7, 11, and a 14-year-old? Is that currently your world?
7, 11, 15. Yeah.
Oh, 15, the young man took another year out. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so you're definitely moving every day. I mean, motion is life. Sitting still is a slow death.
Nothing ever stays the same. Life is always changing. We're always changing. Our cells are always renewing. And unfortunately, a lot of our jobs are sedentary. So we need to put in that effort to create that movement like every day. I literally just put a reel out like yesterday. Was it being like, or was it like the other podcast that I released this week? I was like, we are like dogs. We walk our dogs every day. Our dogs need to be walked every day. We need to be walked every day, even for 5-10 minutes, whatever you can manage. But just be someone that walks every day.
I say this too. After my heart attack, I felt like not only was I grateful, but I had an opportunity to share like what you're doing, right? Again, timing is everything. I have certain jobs that I do, certain events that I do. Like I said, I'm a teacher at Boston College, so I've kind of set my sights after the 21 months of dealing with side effects of cancer to even growing more opportunities like this one. So what did I do? I started running. I couldn't even walk around the block, right? I mean, it's like you talk about walking the dog. I tell people, go walk to your mailbox. If you have that kind of situation, just do something to get out. And I didn't start by running marathons. I mean, I've done one marathon, 17 half marathons, and a total of 37 races since my heart attack. Like I said, I started by walking to my mailbox without losing my breath. The Bible says we fearfully and wonderfully made, Psalm 139:14, but we have to honor our bodies by moving them. So again, my second principle, move your body every day.
What's the first principle? Okay, first principle was, I missed.
Embrace a lifestyle reimagination.
Yes, lifestyle reimagination. And principle 2, move your body every day.
Right. The second thing I know you love, and I loved what you did recently when you talked about, don't be afraid of the labels. Embrace them. Embrace understanding the different foods that are out there, but develop a plan, right? Now, I'm going to take a little detour here, because the third one is fuel yourself with the right foods, okay? But you might say to me, well, Neal, you're in sports. How did you get motivated to do this whole wellness initiative. I'm 67 years young right now. So here I was at 57. I was down and low as can be, 450 pounds, 1 foot in the grave, right? I saw a movie that there's an actor that I think he transcends all over the world. His name is Jeff Bridges. And he was in a movie that was called Crazy Heart, okay? And there was a heartthrob that my wife would say, his name was Colin Farrell. And it was a country
Irishman.
western. My wife saw him in a Walgreens once, and I thought she was going to die, right? Oh, there he is, right? So point I'm making is Jeff was in this movie, and he was a country western singer down on his luck. Hello. He was 57. I was 57. Again, in the movie. His name was Bad Blake. He did a lot of things bad. He was an alcoholic. I was a binge eater, right? He's down on his luck. He's got a manager that also represents Colin Farrell. He's a very good songwriter. I'm a good plan writer. He wrote a song called The Weary Kind. It took off. It was a good song, okay? At the end of the movie, after he writes this song, he goes to warm up Colin Farrell. In what city? Phoenix. Where do I live? Phoenix, Arizona, okay? So many ironies to this whole scenario. So as it plays through, at the end of the movie, he goes to get his first royalty check. And his manager was very proud of him. And he says, congratulations. And he says, I told you there's still gas in the tank. And that's what I feel. If you fuel your body with the right foods, you can go and say, every bite is either medicine or poison. What are you feeding yourself? I had to stop treating my body like a garbage dump. God has already given us the best nutrition plan in the world. It's called real food.
100%. And I think we need to make that switch where we actually are a little bit more mindful around food, because I know myself, my clients, my listeners would very much be quite lead quite busy lives, and it's very easy. And this was probably you when you were in the sports marketing career, where you were busy. And when you're busy, you don't have time to actually, sometimes you don't have time to eat. You're eating on the go. You're grabbing the quick stuff. I'm hungry. Right. I better eat again. And then by the time the evening comes, the cravings are real. And then you're just filling yourself up full of shit, basically, the whole time. And I think when we can make the switch, that it's like, instead of, like I said earlier on, taking things away because we want to get skinnier or we want to get lighter or we want to lose weight, and it's like, what can I actually fuel my body with? What can I nourish it with? And start to learn what your body needs and put things in. I think is definitely the place to start. And then, like you said, from walking, in relation to exercise, walking to your mailbox to suddenly running marathons, the same with nutrition. Just start with a little bit more vegetables. Start there and then take the next step when you're ready.
I have a friend, because I don't really have an organized business like you. I just like to help people. That's good. Drink more water. I like it. Right? Yeah, there you go.
Anyone who's watching on YouTube, I don't know if you'll be able to see, this is a Guinness glass. So it's a Guinness pint glass I'm drinking my water out of.
Well, I have my Dutch Brothers stickered. My friend Daryl gave me this, my $1.99 guy glass. I put some electrolytes in, for my workouts. So the next thing I want to share with you and your audience is kind of a step to the past. Okay. So I had to go see a very special person in order to get clothes. I had to go see Omar the tent maker. This was my size 62 jeans that were part of my world, okay? And I had to go see Omar to do it. So I needed to surround myself, number 4, with the right people. Who you run with determines how far you go. I got to tell you, you said so many good things a minute ago. Being in sports, grab and go, kind of focused on my job, tunnel vision we're there to put things together. I work with a famous baseball coach in the U.S. You would appreciate this. He kind of created entertainment the way I believe. And it's about G-rated entertainment. So you get on your knees if you're a promoter and you look at things from the perspective of a child. And if you get the child, you get the mother. Because I have school programs, I call them, MKS, mothers, kids, and schools. So if you get the moms, the kids, and then, that's how you do the schools. But then you get, at sporting events, you get the families. And it took a very big transition because most of the people in my business thought, oh, we're going after the sports dollar. No, you need to go after the entertainment dollar. So that took a lot of effort to do that. So I had to basically find a new village. A village of people. Orange Theory was my village here in Arizona. I've been a pogo stick in so many different ways in most of my life, but I say this to your audience. You can't do this alone. I needed people who challenged me, that inspired me, that wouldn't let me quit. I was on a podcast in the UK a couple weeks ago, and I asked the person what I asked you, Kate, in the beginning. What inspired you? And he says, well, my teenage son, I wish I had his accent because it was glorious. And he said, my teenage son was talking to his friend and said, my dad is lazy. It hits you. So we all have a point where something could happen. And that's why God created community to help us carry the load. In this case, they wouldn't let me quit. Two are better than one. For if it either falls, one can lift the other one up. I'm sure you have that with your husband, with your kids. There's times when you're doing what you're doing and a client, you're thinking about that client, and the power of that community, your family, is so strong.
Yeah, we've become so divided, like online working and, everyone's so busy. And that community that was a very physical thing, let's say 30 years ago, is not there as much anymore. And I think people crave it. I think very much it's what we're missing in life. And I see it with our own online community within my coaching service, and the women. They are absolutely incredible how they help each other. And someone's having a tough day, someone is there to lend kind words to encourage them, and that virtual hand to pull them up as they need that support. And I think we think that we have it all together. We think we can do it all ourselves. And it's amazing what we can achieve when we put our heads together. And we do it in a really kind way that sometimes we give each other that push we need. And then sometimes it is just about being kind and be like, stop trying to be so perfect. It's okay to fall down. And what I would love to hear is your perspective on, I'm always telling people that, this is a long journey. Losing weight, getting healthy, this is a lifelong journey. Even when you get there, you're keeping it for life. And it's not about being perfect. So when I talk a lot about consistency, you have to be consistent, you have to be patient. But I think there's a misconception in consistency that consistency is perfection. And I'm like, consistency is constantly picking yourself up every time you fall down.
What you're saying is 100% spot on. In my case, there wasn't perfection because you reach plateaus. And I also I say this often, I don't believe in the D word. If you're in this for a diet, this isn't what it is, okay? It's like I have, other things that I'll share over time, but think about something as a mom, okay? I'm going to say this as a dad. So I call it your wellness clock. Your clock is ticking, right? You put yourself in a position where if you're like me, my mom would say, Neal, I want you to eat everything on your plate. And I did. And she also used to say, put your napkin on your lap too. But then you get to become a parent and your child goes and plays soccer or volleyball or baseball or softball. And it's your family's turn to bring the drinks, right? Or bring the snacks. And what do you bring? A sugar-based drink and, a cookie or a bag of chips. And then for those that are a little more athletic, they go play in high school. Here in the States, if you win a game on the road, away game, where does the coach take you? To Mickey D's or Burger King, right? And you're rocking it, right? And then if you're really a gifted athlete, you get to a college and not today, it's better, but back in my day, from a foundational standpoint, and this is where my focus is to answer your question, is that you're in a smorgasbord. You can eat whatever you want. So I tell people, based on your comment, That in your wellness clock is a formula for failure. Your foundation has not been set up right. So that's why people like you, people that inspire others like I try to do, we're in a position to help you understand that what you did is not what you need to continue to do. And you need to move on from these different things. So for me, the fifth thing that came into play was setting goals that scare you. Basically, if your goals don't stretch you, they won't change you. The things that you're describing, you put yourself in a position. Listen, at 450 pounds, running even a mile seemed impossible. Now I run half marathons. Don't let fear keep you from dreaming big. I can do all things that Christ who strengthens me. So I found strength in my community. I found strength in my village. I found strength in my beliefs. So those type of things, when you are what you described, as far as those situations that put you in a position to figure it out, your plan should not be about a diet. Your plan should be a lifestyle reimagination. And in my particular case, here I am 60, I'm trying to think of my age, about 4 years ago, maybe like 3.5 now, COVID came. So COVID caused me to gain 20 pounds. So here I am, Mr. 199 guy, lost over my total weight loss at one point was 261 pounds. I'm a big bone guy. So the lowest I was 189.4. Okay. And that's what I weighed in at. So I end up, and I want to be vulnerable right here because ultimately I go and I get diagnosed with cancer. So I go to Mayo, which is one of the best hospitals in the world, Kate. And I say to Dr. Regama, my radiation oncologist, dude, the one thing I don't want is I don't want to gain weight. So I was required to do radiation and a hormonal shot. The hormonal shot didn't work. I gained 50 more pounds. So here I am. I'm really upset. I wouldn't have even been on your podcast. I was embarrassed. Okay. I had spoken this brand. I had gone through, like you said, such success, but then there was failure. Forget the foundational failure. This is real life, cancer, beat cancer, be grateful. But at the end of the day, this was going on. So what did I do? I end up recently putting my mind to it. And since mid-November, I've lost 40 pounds. So I'm on my way back. I'm not 100% where I want to be. And yes, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I did a compound Mounjaro. I'm doing it through my doctor's scenario. And it's by the same token, there's exercise involved. I do Orange Theory. Like I was going to bring this up. We're talking about community. There was a young lady we did an 8-week transformational challenge. And she's probably in her 50s. I'm in her 60s. And she was part of this community that we all shared recipes and positive motivational tips and stuff like that. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I lost 4% body fat and I gained 2% muscle mass, but she did better and she needed to win. And she did. I mean, she had made cottage cheese eggs for a flatbread that just knocked your socks off. So all these positive things were coming into play in my life. Again, you have to have your mind out there because, again, back to my book, Never Too Late, and the formula, motivation plus accountability. We've discussed that. Then you get into the mode of sustainability. That's what you're doing right now. You're not only helping your clients, but you're a walking billboard of success based on 3 kids, managing a husband, managing a business, all these different things that you're doing. Together, we're sitting here trying to inspire an audience to say, it could be you. From that standpoint, I'm a movie buff because when I did sports, I used to create entertainment. I said that earlier. And one of the movies that I talk about is the movie that Morgan Freeman and Jim Carrey were in. It was called Bruce Almighty. If your kids haven't seen that movie, they'll like it. Okay. And in that movie, Morgan Freeman plays God. And he says, if you want to see a miracle, you got to be a miracle. And I believe everybody in this audience is a miracle waiting to be unfolded. So it starts with setting your goals that scare you. So that's number 5 principle that saved my life.
Setting goals that scare you. What I love about your journey so far as well, in relation to setting goal, like that, this is an incredibly inspiring story, you know, going from 400 pounds to running like marathons and endless half marathons and, you know, everything that you've achieved. It's not this perfect story of like, I decided I'd change and now I'm here. It's like, we're talking heart failure, we're talking cancer, we're talking gaining nearly 50 pounds again. And that it's a real up and down process, and hopefully for most people, they don't experience the same level of adversity that you've had to overcome. But you know, this is life, and I think we envision this weight loss, health and fitness journey as being perfect, but life is not perfect. And the older we are, you know, that we're lucky to get as we get older, the more life that we've lived, the more adversity we're going to come across. And like, it, you know, it's inevitable. We're all going to fall down every now and again. Things are going to come in the way. This journey needs to fit into that imperfect life, and we need to be okay with there being ups and downs. And that's what I think is so incredibly inspiring about your story, is your ability to get back up and go again.
Well, thank you. And it leads right into number 6. Train your mind to win. Your body won't go where your mind hasn't been first. You got to see it to believe it, to do it, right? The hardest battle isn't physical. It's mental. I had to break the lies I told myself. How many times? Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You know, like I have this thing in my book. It's called can't words. You know, and a lot of times people that have kids like you know, when they want to go to a gym, what do they'll say? Oh, I can't do it. Well, gyms have daycare, right? Or it costs too much money, right? That's a can't. What a can is, invest in yourself. So the mental side of it is, you'll never change. You're too far gone. That's not God talking. That's fear talking. So train your mind to win. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power and love of self-discipline. You have it within you to create that discipline.
Yeah, just have to let go of the stories. It's the ego that we've built up over time. This narrative that we tell ourselves, I can't do this, I don't have enough money, I've no one to help, or whatever the reasons are, there's always a way around it. And also, just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. That's been life-changing for me.
I like that. Say that again. That's a very strong statement.
Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. I just wanted to interrupt the podcast for a moment to talk to you a little bit about Kate Hamilton Health online coaching. So we have 2 coaching options available. We have our elite coaching and we have our group coaching service. Our elite coaching service is bespoke, individualized coaching, which will help you to finally break free from diet culture with one-to-one anytime support from your coach and with access to a safe, supportive community. This is a higher ticket coaching option, and the coaching is by application only. If you go to my website, katehamiltonhealth.com, you will be able to apply for elite coaching through there, and we will be in touch to organise a call and to get you up and running. In relation to our group coaching starts on the first Monday of every month. When it's full each month, we do close the doors. With the group coaching is about building the habits, body and energy of the healthiest version of yourself and finally make it stick. We include personalized calories and portions, food lists, recipes, meal plan ideas, step goals, home or gym-based workouts, depending on what you want, changed every 8 weeks, mindset work, app access. So that's the Kate Hamilton Health app, which will be your hub for everything. Weekly yoga classes, WhatsApp group community, weekly group Q&A with myself, fun challenges, daily habits form, weekly self-check-in, fortnightly check-ins with your coach, a library full of lifestyle guides, a library full of lessons, seminars, and all of this is updated regularly. We have weekly group Zoom calls with myself and the team, regular guest seminars where we get experts on to talk more to you about different topics that we need experts on for. And then we have in-person events twice a year that you will get at a major discount as being a member of the Kate Hamilton Health community. So then, as I said, this starts the first Monday of every month. If you go to my website, katehamiltonhealth.com, you will see when the next group coaching intake is starting for you. So we close the doors as soon as that intake is full, or the Monday before the group coaching starts. So usually that last Monday of the previous month. So if you head over to katehamiltonhealth.com, all of that information that I've talked through is on the website. You'll be able to book your spot for the next intake there. And I will chat to you all then.
I usually end podcasts with this. I'm going to insert this for you. And this is something I created. Okay. It's called attitude. And it starts with your attitude. And attitude's like a flat tire. If you don't fix it, you don't go very far. Think about it. I had a flat tire. I fixed it. And I had to fix it again because that's the way life is. You know, you're going to have flat tires along the journey. And in this particular case, but it's got to start with your mind, your attitude.
What I want to ask you actually, because like what you've been through is what a lot of people fear. You know, something is happening with their heart, you know, having sudden cardiac arrest is probably as scary as it gets, then cancer on top of it. Did you feel fear in the aftermath of these diagnoses? And how did you manage to separate yourself from that fear?
Well, a big part of it was community. So, you know, at the end of the day, making that decision that we talked about earlier, surrounding yourself with the right people, that comes into play. Listen, I did a lot of nice things in sports for people. And yesterday, you know, obviously with HIPAA here in the States, I'm careful about this. But, you know, somebody called me and I just visited with them in my jammy, as I call it. You know, I talked about this process of being diagnosed with cancer in 2016 and then being told that a male has 12 vials and one of the 12 had 3%. And then all of a sudden, that PSA number started increasing, and all of a sudden now it was in 2 vials. And then I learned what's called the Gleason score, which so many guys don't understand. 1 in 6 males are going to get some form of cancer in their lives, okay? But in my particular case, this was a process. So in 2022, November of 2022, when I found out that my numbers were in the intermediate range and I needed to do something, then I had to research what was I going to do based on my situation. So back to your, you know, question with respect to, did I have a fear? Did I get upset? We all do. During COVID, I was on a group chat, or, you know, we'd have a weekly session, like I'm sure you've had with different people that you've helped. And the thing I've learned is to be vulnerable. If you are vulnerable, you put yourself in a position to be able to accept all things that come your way. And in this particular case, you're right. Losing a lot of weight was, in a miracle amount of time, was amazing. Overcoming sudden cardiac death, like you said, we fear it. I mean, I actually was on a bench, and this is going to sound a little morbid, but it's what I did. I fell face forward. After that happened, was taken in an emergency vehicle. I wake up in the ER, and the doctor says some things to me, and I said, Dr. McKenna, just give me 15 minutes, I'll be fine. I had no knowledge. Now, you said passion. I also am a salesman, okay? So my wife, smart, Laura, she calls up the football coach, you know, for the team that I was working for at the time, Kevin Guy of the Arizona Rattlers. And he looks at Dr. McKenna and says, this is he used another word, salesman. Don't let him convince you otherwise. He's staying overnight. Now, I basically have this first cardiologist come in. And again, we all fear, like, I don't know anything, but I know I've given to the community, which is a real important part about being engaged. I call it CEO cornerstones, where you're the CEO of your, you know, in the beginning of your life, then you're the CEO of your community. You get your first job, you're hanging out in the community. Then you're the CEO of your legacy, because you want to learn that it's the most important thing is about your ability to help other people find their personal legend. And then, like where you are, where I am, you're the CEO of your family. And you evolve in those type of situations. But if you don't have your health, you don't have any of those things, right? So all these things that, we all have, we fear about having a heart attack. You said it well. We fear about fitting into if you're my weight at that time, you didn't fit into a booth into a restaurant. You didn't fit into your airline seat. You didn't fit into your Omar the tent maker clothes, right? So it's like, what do you do? What you do is you put yourself in a position to understand that when it really comes down to it, you've trained your mind to win. And then the thing that really is the seventh thing that I did, trust that God is not done with you. If you're breathing, God's got a plan for you. And that's kind of what happened. Realize that this was part of a plan. However you want to break it down, with whatever other people dealt with, what I had to deal with, whatever it may be. What it really comes down to, Kate, is here, yeah, I had fears. Yeah, I had disappointments. Yeah, I was worried. I didn't know if I was going to see the next day. My clock was ticking. So before it hit 000 in the sports world, I needed to do something about it. And like I said, I heard, but I didn't listen. So I needed to surround myself with the right people. I said that earlier. And those type of things came into play. But if I dealt with it individually, like I thought I had to, if I just showed up at the gym, which is what I thought I had to do, which is only 20% of the equation, if I did those things, I was not going to be on this podcast with you.
Very much keeping yourself in the present moment in the aftermath of these situations rather than projecting too far in the future where it leads to worry and fear. You're like, what can I do right now?
I mean, it makes me tear up a little bit just whenever I think about sharing this story with an audience and helping them realize it's okay to have some of these issues come up. It's okay to be overweight. But then again, somebody may say, oh, that's nice. He lost over 199 pounds. I don't have 199 pounds to lose, but let me tell you, if you work hard in your life and you gain 10 pounds, then you gain 20 pounds, 20 becomes 30, 30 becomes 40. And then at 50 pounds overweight, you're in a space where are you able to enjoy everything you did in your lifetime to support your family, to support yourself, to support your friends? Did you do everything you could? Because if you're at that weight in that situation, you're going to have limitations. You're not going to be able to enjoy your grandkids. You're not going to be able to go run with your son. I used to say that was a dream of mine. I want to go run with my son, right? And in all due respect, neither one of them, well, Justin, the older one, is a runner. But I used to take a big pride out of the fact that Logan, when I would run, I'm an ambassador for the Rock and Roll Running Series. And in saying such, there's a race here in Arizona. And it used to always fire me up that Logan would drive me down and drop me off. And then my wife would come pick me up and catch me at the finish line. So you make things that maybe you never thought you could do even better by having these goals. So nutrition gives you some set of goals, but then as you get more into it, like, if I wanted to run like I did, I had to reach a level where I was able to train, because you just don't show up. It's just like nutrition. You're going to lose a one, or like in my current situation, I'm losing like a pound or two a week. That's fine. That's within moderation. And that's what I tell people when they first get started. Don't go on a diet. Don't go sit there and count your calories. Start moderating. If you can start with a simple moderation of whatever you're doing right now. So in my case, 3 slices of pizza became 2, okay? And then you start to build momentum for yourself. And it makes you feel so much better. And obviously the people around you are going to celebrate you. I tell people, hang with people that celebrate you, not tolerate you.
Yes, love it. What is the next principle? We've gone as far as 6, have we?
Trust that God is not done with you. So I started saying I was supposed to be another statistic. Instead, God gave me a second chance. If you're here listening to this, so do you. Your past does not define you. Your mistakes do not disqualify you. It's never too late, the name of my book, to become who you are meant to be. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to give you hope and a future.
I'm a firm believer that we are all put on this planet to contribute, and we all have different personalities, we all have different traits, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we quite often focus on what we're not good at and what we can't do, rather than really exploring, what am I good at? Am I a good communicator? Am I a good artist? Am I a good athlete? Am I a caring, kind person? Like, whatever the qualities are. And then how can I make the world around me? And I think a lot of times people try and aim really big, where it's like, I need to change the world. It's like, you need to change your world. Like, so you need to change your inner world first, how you kind of perceive life, how you perceive yourself, your challenges, and then just it shines out of you, and then you can help the people around you. And when you're unapologetically yourself, looking to serve others, you give other people permission to do the same. And I'm a firm believer. I know it's very probably simplified, really, but I do believe that it will make a huge difference. And I think that any of us that are breathing right now, we're breathing for a reason, and we really need to make the most of that.
I'm going to say this, in taking number 7 and recapping everything. I'm living proof that no matter how far gone you think you are, I was. It's never too late to turn things around. Your transformation starts now. Now, just to, share this with you. This is my book, Never Too Late. Sorry for the lighting thing here. But you could see that was me at my best, the bigger picture. And in the red top, that was the 5X top. In that picture, actually, I was 415.6. My biggest weight was 450. And, look, last night I was talking to another friend that's a client in a sense, and he says, do you have trouble getting motivated, getting off the couch? And I said, young man, it's time to go from the couch to the concrete. But I'm not going to tell you when. If you just go walk 50 yards, like we talked about earlier, the mailbox or something like that, and the next day you do 5 more, and the next day you do 5 more. It's a form of cross training. If you start, I don't know what you teach your clients, but I had a group that said, train like an Olympic athlete. So if you start by walking, do 18 minutes, 3-minute segments, and the last 30 seconds, do it as fast as you can, right? And I do a thing called chi running, chi walking, chi running, and it's wrist to rib, so it's not full extension of your arms. It's not fully extending your knees, which is less strain on your joints. Your strike point is the middle to the back of your foot. You can look it up at CHI. And Lisa Bozzoni was a coach that here in Arizona, she shared that with me. And actually, Kate, we talk about doing things for our community, for our inspiration. You have, like you mentioned now, three beautiful kids, right? And at the end of the day, I had that heart attack. So I called Lisa up and I said, I want to try something. I want to do something to get people motivated. I'm going to get sponsors. I'm going to run a marathon. Now, that was the only marathon I've done. So I started where I had my heart attack.
What year was this? 2016?
2016 was the heart attack. So August 2nd, a year later, Lisa and her boyfriend, Greg, took my truck because we had to, run it like we had support, right? So here they have these canals with trails. So Lisa mapped out a race. I ended up doing an ultra, 26.9 miles. She would tell you, I never really trained for that, and I wouldn't recommend that, but it was one of those things, and you might like this, it's will versus skill. So my will got me through it, right? So I end up running to the American Heart Association offices or complex that has a children's museum. And it was glorious. I get through it. They have a big crowd of people waiting for me. I was so happy, and the American Heart Association brings out a big sign that says survivor, because I was. But what was more glorious about the situation is let people know that you should celebrate your life. And all these things that may happen along the way are part of where you got to fail to succeed. And we've all done it, right? In this case, I had some real strong adversity situations that came up. But, at the end of the day, it wasn't going to define me, right? from everything that we've talked about today, how would you like to conclude this very good session we talked about the 7 principles that saved my life, that hopefully can save somebody in the audience, whether it's 1 or 2, whatever, you put that graphically up, to do that. I have many other things that I share with people, but, for today's podcast, I want to capture whatever you want to do at the end here.
I think my big takeaway from our whole conversation and from you sharing your story, and it's interesting because this is a very, very much a default of mine that I'm doing a lot of work with a coach to release at the minute. My default is fear. And it comes all the way back to my 4-year-old self. Fear is just my automatic when in any type of situation. And I catch myself now and I'm able to separate from it. But I think the message I get from your story is the only thing that's going to hold you back in life is fear. And when you can learn to meet it head on, it's not as scary as you think. And you can do a hell of a lot more than you actually think.
Well, you're right. And I also say, if you quit, you don't have a chance. Because so many of us think about that fear and we think about quitting. Trust me, more recently, I had that thought, my face is bigger, my belly is still big, but it's less big, right? I tell people I was fat and I'm less fat, okay? Because I have fun with this. I want this to be fun. This is not something that you should take on as, oh, I fear it, and it's going to be a lot of work. You'd be surprised, once you get going, how good you feel. And I'm experiencing that right now. That's why I'm so excited about being on with you. And you have something in your hand that everybody has an opportunity to deal with. And it's a pen. Mm-hmm. You have a chance to write a script of what you want to do. I said this in the beginning of the podcast, what I liked about something you said, and I looked at it and I said, let's start with the daily mores. Keep showing up, moving more, sleeping more, drinking more water, eating more vegetables. And guess what? If you do that, it will give you more life. And guess what? Isn't that what we're all about? We want more life. We want to be there for our kids. We want to be there for our grandkids. We want to be there to experience positive things. When your 15-year-old son goes and plays a sport or goes and is in a band or has an academic thing, you want to be there for him, right? Because let me tell you, as a parent, I'll leave you with this thought. Okay. So think about what I said earlier about the CEO cornerstones, right? And let's take the evolution of things that happen, fear, you said it, and at the same time, you have others in your life. So what happens? In the beginning, okay, you want to, like my wife would say, oh, you need to come to that parent-teacher conference, right? You might say that to your husband, right? He's busy with work, whatever. So you want to spend time with your kids, right? And then you get to a point where they get a little older, and like your 15-year-old, I don't know what the driving age is in Ireland, but 16 or 17, depending on the state here in the United States. And what happens is you put a scenario where you need to be home at 12 o'clock or whatever it may be. And so you're into discipline. But ultimately, the most important thing that you want to be in a position to do, at least me as a parent, and the way I feel, and the way Laura, my wife, feels, is that, yeah, it's good that you spent time with your kids, right? It's good that you were a disciplinarian with your kid. But at the end of the day, what is the most important thing that you do? One word, and that's sacrifice. Sacrificing so your children can be a better echo of you.
What an amazing way to finish. Neal, thank you so much for such an amazing conversation. So inspiring. If people would like to find out a bit more about you, your book, where's the best place to find the book? And Instagram for Amazon for your book.
Yep.
It's called, we'll put all the details in the show notes
right
anyway.
There. It's Never Too Late.
Never Too Late by Neal.
With a number 2 in the middle of never and late. Okay, so that's something that we created. Shout out to Kelly Cole, my publisher, Books for Athletes, who gave me this opportunity to be with you. Okay.
Amazing.
And at the same time, be together. Listen, I will tell you this off the air. What you're doing for your audience is inspiring. So keep doing it. Bravo.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And I would just ask for one thing from you. If at all possible, could you make sure that you subscribe to the podcast? It really does make such a difference. If there's a particular episode that you've enjoyed, please do share it in your WhatsApp groups, share it on your stories, tag myself and the guest in your stories. All of these things really do help to grow the podcast. And obviously, if there's anything you'd like to reflect on, please do leave a comment. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you on the next one.